Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. I'm Michelle, and with me, of course, is Diana.
Hello.
And this evening, we are joined by author Camille Di Maio. She's the author of, well, the book that we're discussing this evening is The Way of Beauty. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, Camille. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, and I know we were just chatting that you're in Virginia, and it's so rare that I have a night owl like me, even though you're an hour ahead of me. So thank you for the time for us tonight.
You bet.
It's always interesting to put makeup on at like 9:30 at night.
Yeah, I came from the pool and hot, sweaty, humid Virginia, so I'm having to reapply tonight.
Yeah, I know. In my pajamas, I'm like, okay, I need my face powder and but so before we get started, are you partaking in a wine beverage this evening?
I am. So this is mine tonight. I'm drinking a cab, which is always my favorite.
Ooh, love cabs.
Yeah.
Diana, I'm always, now that we have our boxes of wine, I'm always excited to hear which one Diana has picked tonight.
And I'm always excited to hear which one you picked tonight. I went with Copycat. It's a Tempranillo wine, and for those of you who are watching, you could see the label here. Absolutely adorable, with a cat with a little lion head thing on.
Oh, it's so cute.
And then on the back, it's so cute. It's all floppy on the back. It's like, oh, it's perfect for an animal lover. So I really like that. How about you? What's your wink wine of the night?
So tonight we went with Pas Ordinaire. It's a French, it's a red blend, I want to say, from the Languedoc. I'm butchering the word. I should know this, but I'm butchering it. Region of France, which is a favorite region of mine and my mom's, even though we've never been there, but we've read a lot of historical fiction set in that book or set in that region. So when we were picking out wines to have with dinner, I had this one and I had another wink wine from Spain. I was like, okay, so we have a French wine and we have a Spanish wine. Definitely went with the French wine tonight, but it's delicious. Ooh. And the label is really pretty too. It's very detailed, so it's kind of hard to see maybe on the screen, but it's really good for the wine aficionados. There are notes of dark fruit, baking spice, and hints of savory black olive. It's good. That's my take on it.
Mine is good too. Mine is it's got a little bit of a spice to it. So I taste the spice in it, and it smells very berry-esque. I don't know. I think somebody who likes cabs would like this one.
That's good. I like the bottle. That's really
yeah. I love the wink bottles because they're all like, because oftentimes we shop by label, and they're all really cool, unique labels. And I'm like, oh, I want to save these labels. But yeah, if anybody is interested in getting the wink wines like we do, all you need to do is go to www.trywink.com/www podcast. You go there, you can get these really cool wines, and your first shipment is $22 off for your first order. So that's, really awesome. And they select the wines based on a quiz that you take. And the more you rate, the more narrowed down their selections are for you. And Michelle and we've been doing this for 3 months now?
Yeah, this will be our third box.
Yeah, and we've gotten 4 wines each, and we have not come across a single one that we do not like.
Oh, that's great.
It's almost like a challenge. Challenging wink to find me a wine that I don't like. And yeah, I have a feeling I'm probably going to lose that.
It's okay. It's okay to lose that challenge.
There's some challenges that are worth losing. That's one of them.
So let's go ahead and dive in because like I said before we got started tonight, Diana and I have been doing live tweeting or texting, live texting this book, our reading experience with this book today. And there's one thing that we kept saying is there are so many different storylines, and there's, different, time hopping and a lot going on, but it really feels like it was a story about immigrants, and then set against women's suffrage, the women's suffrage movement. Is that what you intended?
I really start with just a seed of ideas. So where this one started was just the thought of a soldier kissing his girlfriend goodbye in a train station as he goes off to war. So that was literally all I had for the book at all. And so then I started researching train stations and came across Penn Station in New York. And I have been to Penn Station many times, and I saw these beautiful, beautiful images of it. And I thought, I must never have been upstairs because I've clearly not seen this before. And as I did the research, I realized it had been torn down in the 1960s to build Madison Square Garden. So I had no characters. I just had this train station that had been torn down, but I was so in love with it that I said, this has to be the setting for my book. And so I started populating the book with these characters whose lives would have intersected with the train station. So being New York and being a train station that everybody goes through, we have the immigrants and the suffragettes and the socialites, everybody would have intersected. And that's why we have a lot of characters from different walks of life. But that's New York. You can't tell just one person's story in New York without going down the road for all of them.
It's so true. It's one of the great things about New York is that everybody just intersects, and you're just kind of all in this one giant mesh of people, or poor and rich, as opposed to other areas like LA where you definitely have those separate areas. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and it was interesting having the Penn Station there as that backdrop as well was really cool. And speaking of the suffragettes, because the suffragettes play a really big part in the first part of the book.
Yes.
To me, Pearl felt like a statement on white feminism, in my opinion. I don't know, was that something that was maybe intended, or just that idea of this, you have this rich woman who's just like, I'm just going to give charity and I'm going to do this and I can do this and help people, as opposed to having those voices that come up and help amplify those other voices.
Well, writing historical fiction, you have to get into what was happening at the time and who were the characters at the time. And sometimes with characters, to show one person's story, you almost have to show the opposite person's story, and then magnify each other. And so if I was telling the story of the immigrants, then telling the story of a wealthy socialite suffragette really amplifies both sets of characters. And so that's why I have both sides. Oddly enough, Pearl was never going to be more than a little secondary character. She was just the fiance of the man that Vera loved. But as I still wanted to make even the secondary character be very real. And so as I delved into the history of the suffragettes, it was so fascinating that she just became this bigger character. And so as a writer, I'm what's called a pantser instead of a plotter. Some people will have, you might have seen pictures, they'll have like Post-it notes that are color-coded and they're all over the room because they know what every paragraph and every chapter is going to be. I literally have no idea when I sit down to write. The history that I do the research for starts to inform the story. So literally, Pearl was not a statement or anything else. She was just a secondary character that I researched and said, oh, I like what I'm finding out. Let me explore more. So that's, yeah, I can't read a lot deeper than that, other than the research was a lot of really neat to delve into.
Yeah, I love how you say that with the pantser versus planner. I'm like a Pirates of the Caribbean planner. I have a guideline. I have an outline. And it's like guidelines. I can stay with it. I can go away from it, but I have this nice middle pathway. But one of the reasons why I was thinking of white feminism and why I was thinking of in that regards, for me, from what I've seen for the, some of my suffragette research has been, my research has been with the immigrants and with the Italian immigrants. And there's this really great book, I actually have it right over here, called Living the Revolution, that talks about the women's roles, Italian women's roles. And it's one of these books that you can tell I've researched the hell out of. For those of you who are listening, there are Post-it notes all over this place. I will not admit to how much I have highlighted and written in this book. But one of the great stories that's in here is, I think it was Elizabeth Cady Stanton, totally underestimated the Italian immigrant women. She, when she would go over there to talk to them, she would hang out in the living rooms with the men, and she was just like, these women, they're so submissive. They're not getting involved. They're relished to the kitchen. And what she was missing was the fact that the women were in the kitchen because they were cooking, and that's where they were doing their talking, and that's where they were doing their actual, if she went in there and listened to them and talked to them, she would have seen that they were far more progressive than she had initially thought they were. And Pearl reminded me a bit of her. She reminded me of Elizabeth, which is probably what you intended with the story. You wanted somebody who's going to remind you of, the classic suffragette. Yeah, she reminded me of that, the way she just kind of stomped in through everything.
Yes, and there were a lot of wealthy suffragettes who were working with immigrants, and they had the ability to bend the ear of a lot of people that somebody else might. So I think there was a role for everybody, no matter where you were in that circle. And I think the role of some of the wealthier ones was to raise money, to go to luncheons with power players, and you need those people who were doing that, and that's what Pearl did. But it's neat that you mentioned the Italian immigrants, because I'm half Italian, and so I've been, I've seen the Ellis Island records of my family coming over from Calabria and so forth. So yeah, my character Angela was very intentionally an Italian immigrant. I've got to give a shout out to the motherland there. And what I did learn, I did not know this in the process, but a lot of the Italian immigrants were not registering to vote. They really weren't participating. They were just earning money, and they were sending it home. And so I found that there were suffragettes who were actively trying to get them to really participate in this country that they were living in and registering to vote. And so that's something I have Pearl doing as well. It's not just about the women. It's about really involving people and helping them realize their own power through that. So she's specifically reaching out to the Italian American community. And that's just a tiny, tiny little thread. I don't go into that in a big way, but I like having that realism, and it certainly is a part of my history. So I liked bringing that into it.
And I love it. I love it. My goal for my writing is to talk about my history and my family and stuff. And it's an Italian girl party tonight. We got a Calabrese, and a Sicilian, and then we've got a Sicilian, Michelle Sicilian.
Yay!
Italian girls get the job done.
We just realized, Diana and I realized yesterday, the day before, that our families going back were both from the same area, and we're going, okay, so wouldn't it's not a stretch that maybe somewhere we are actually related somehow.
Yeah, I think that's possible.
Yeah, we actually discovered about 2 or 3 days ago. Actually, I discovered it. Well, mostly I was doing a lot of the research. I thought my aunt posted a picture of my great-great-grandparents on my father's mother's side. And I went and started doing all the research. I went on Ellis Island and started researching them, and I found, well, these people didn't come over. And then she posted another photo of a great uncle of my father's, and I researched him, and I saw that he came over, and it looks like he came over escorting my great-grandmother with him to marry my great-grandfather, who was already here in the country, but they're all from San Giuseppe Giotto in Sicily, according to the records. And I was just like so excited. It was to the point, you could tell I'm a historical fiction buff and a history nerd, because I'm on my phone on my lunch break at work going through all of this, and I see the record on my phone, and I gasped. I dropped my phone, and I was like, oh my God, I just found out where we're from in Sicily. And just like, it was like this huge thing. And I'm like trying to text and call my dad while he's at work. Like, you got to drop what you're doing. This is big stuff. This is really important. Somebody's got to understand this.
I signed up for Escrow.com. I started starting our whole family one time, and I found things I was just really excited about. And I emailed my whole family, and I barely got responses. I don't think they cared. It's either your hobby, it's your not, or it's not. So I have a record of the things I found that I thought were exciting. But I did get to go to Ellis Island and actually look at the records, and I got to go to what is now Chinatown, but it was more of Little Italy at the time, and go see the apartment that my he would have been my great-great-grandfather would have come over to. My husband is also Italian though, and his dad is from Sorrento, Italy. So mine is quite a few generations back, but my husband is first generation Italian. So it's just been there have been good conversations coming from that too.
How fun. Now we have like this instant bond. We're all cousins. We're all familia.
It's all Southern Italy. We're probably cousins.
It's possible. I mean, I could be related to Michelle through my grandmother's side, and you could be through my grandfather's side because my grandfather was Calabrese. So
possible.
We're all family.
All of a sudden, we're going to research back far enough, and we're all going to see the same name somewhere.
14th cousin, 3 times.
Right.
Yes, and then that makes us automatically family, where we're showing up on each other's doorsteps for holidays.
I welcome that. Come on over.
In a totally non-creepy way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So speaking of Italian men, not women.
That's a good topic.
So when you mentioned that you're the seed of your novel came from the idea of a soldier kissing his girlfriend goodbye, that totally made me think of the scene with Angelo and Vera, and that's when I got the deluge of text message from Diana. going, what the hell is going on?
Right, I was right there with Vera I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but Angelo starts putting moves on her while he's married, and it's like, what the hell, dude? You should have thought of this before.
Well, I mean, typical guy, like realizing a little too late.
Yeah, that's right. And I like to write characters who are trying to be very noble, and Vera was a very noble character, trying to do the right thing, trying to be self-sacrificial, and he just kind of keeps bringing on and making it really hard for her to do what she feels the right thing is. And so I tried to write that kind of tension in there.
Well, you succeeded.
He won me over by the end. I have to say he won me over by the end, because I wound up being Team William. Mm-hmm. And Emmett, I was okay with him going away. Mm-hmm. My favorite. But of course,
I don't know. Like maybe it's the journalist in me, but I was a little partial to the photojournalist.
Oh.
Well, in that part of the story, I really wanted to explore that there are people that were sometimes just passionate, somebody we're passionately in love with, and maybe it's not the smartest move, and sometimes that mysterious element makes them even more interesting to us. But there's passion, and then there's long-term love, and I wanted to kind of explore both themes there. So
yeah, Michelle.
Well, Diana and I rarely go for the same fictional character, so.
I thought for a few pages there, I thought for sure you were going to go for William. I thought you were going to be Team William with me, because I was like, he's sweet, he's nice, he's charming, he's totally that guy that Michelle would just totally go for in a book. And Emmett, by and large, for the most part, would be typically the guy I would end up going with, but I preferred William.
I know
the journalism thing, and I was like,
it's a journalism bond. It's a thick bond.
Obvious.
It's funny where all that went. I was literally, I think in my second, we do about 3 rounds of edits once you're done with the book, and so I think I was in the at the end of the second round of edits. So by this time, you really should just be polishing. Mm-hmm. And I had a complete change of heart about how I wanted the book to end. And so it actually started out with the opposite ending. And I was in New York for a conference, sitting in my hotel. Something was just eating at me and going, something's not right. It's not fitting exactly right. And then this epiphany about how I was going to change it around and completely flip the ending came to me. And I literally texted my editor. I said, oh my gosh, I know what's going to happen. She celebrated with me because she really liked the turn of events. So it can even come down to the wire like that. And that's the part of me being a pantser. I mean, a plotter would know, down to the word what they were going to do. And I'm in you know, last minute edits going, I'm changing the whole thing. So I wasn't really sure I was on the whole time either.
And that's one of the nice things about with historical fiction too, when like the historical fiction where you get to set it within the backdrop and be able to create the whole character straight from scratch. Sometimes you don't get to change the situations where if you're like straight up, you're using somebody who's historical person, you have to go by those endings, whether you like it or not.
Right.
Characters you may or may not want to kill off.
Got it. The true thing. And so far, all of my books have been completely fictional characters. But the fourth book, which I'm finishing edits on right now, brings in some real life people, at least as pretty strong secondary characters. So that was a completely different way to write because you do have constraints. I actually found it easier because I couldn't let my imagination run too wild. I had boundaries I had to stick with, and I sort of liked that. But I think I would be intimidated writing a historical fiction book completely about a real person because I would be nervous about doing them justice. So I sort of like what I got to do in the fourth book, which was a mix. My main characters are fictional, my secondary ones are real, and that was at least a good step into that world.
That was you being a plotter for just a little bit.
Definitely, you know, I'm trying to also every book has something new I'm dabbling in, and hopefully my readers can't tell the difference, but I always have something I'm trying to get a little bit better at, trying to expand my toolbox, and that's what I'm doing on the fourth one. But The Way of Beauty was a lot about setting, so that was something I wanted to really focus on, is the setting of New York and especially Penn Station. So that was what I worked on hard. My dog's behind me. I've been waiting any second to bark.
My dogs never bark on air. I don't know what they're up to. But they're about to get themselves in a little hurt. So yeah, I mean, with the setting, you can't really have anything separate from New York. I couldn't picture this anywhere else but New York, really, when it comes down to it. But one thing I want to touch on is writing love triangles. That is not easy to do. I tried it once for NaNoWriMo, and I had a hell of a time because when you're writing a character, you get so involved in that character, and then to go around and turn around and have feelings for somebody else, it makes it hard. And it's hard enough to write one love triangle, but you wrote two.
Yeah.
What tips do you have for writers on love triangles?
You know, I sort of love the forbidden love element. There's somebody that you want to have that you shouldn't have, or that you can't have, but you still do want them. So I like the tension that can be created in that, and yet I still love to have characters, like I said, who are self-sacrificial and noble. And so you mix this in, which I want to do the wrong thing, but I want to do the right thing. And I like that kind of tension in a story. So I never set out to write two love triangles in the book, but there we have it. That's what happens when you're
So what tips do you have for writers to be able to do a successful love triangle?
What was that?
What tips do you have for writers to be able to do a successful love triangle?
I think you just have to really put yourself into the head of the main character. So in this case, in the first story, the main character is Vera. And you have to give really legitimate reasons for her to want to be with person A, and really legitimate reasons for her to be with person B. And maybe even make it obvious that one is better for her, but her heart's in another place. So I think you just have to keep questioning and writing and deepening why she would, from her point of view, want to be with each of those people. What they do to fulfill her and what she could bring to the table too, and make both of them really legitimate choices. And then you end up with players who are team one or team the other.
Yeah, and it's great that you said that, because I felt in a lot of ways with the Pearl, Vera, Angelo love triangle, there was really a true love from Vera's perspective towards Pearl. Where, and you know, Angelo, obviously he loved them both in different ways, but with Vera and Pearl, you could totally feel that love, and it wasn't necessarily a romantic love per se. It was that sisterly love. There was a bond between the two of them.
And I wanted to bring that up because I think it can be too easy to write women who are being catty with each other, especially in a situation where they both are in love with the same man. I think it would be the natural choice to make them be enemies. And yet I thought it would be an interesting choice to have them develop a friendship. And that creates the tension for Vera even more. In this case, she's choosing between her romantic love interest and her friendship interest, and which kind of love is she going to value over the other, and that's its own kind of love triangle too. So I liked the idea of just not reverting to what we would expect in that kind of situation. And I wanted to elevate women. I just think that people sometimes expect the worst of us, and I wanted to show how that could bring out the best of them instead.
Yeah, I love that, because I mean, you have this opportunity for Pearl and Vera to truly hate each other because of this one man, but you don't see that. And I don't know about with you, but like with me, Michelle and I, it's very rare for us to be in a situation where the women are out to just get each other. I mean, obviously people have their differences one-on-one, but it's rare for we don't have, most women I know don't have that reality show life where they just want to tear the other one down. It's always very much a positive kind of thing.
Well, maybe in a situation where you have two people who are already friends, but in this case, she didn't know Pearl at all. Mm-hmm. And so she had no friendship with which to say in the beginning, my friendship is more important than this. And so I think at that point, it would have been easy to see Pearl as some kind of competitor. Mm-hmm. Yet she was so impressed with all of Pearl is doing for the cause of women, she can't help just but want to be pulled into that orbit as well. But I think at the very beginning, before you have that friendship basis, I think at least it would be the stereotypical fallback to say that the women would be catty or they'd be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really love that you created the friendship between them, because you're right. It was an opportunity for, it's easy to kind of like side with one of the girls and be like, oh, Pearl. Yeah. But it just created an extra layer for the story and for Vera, and it gave her an opportunity to grow as a person. Mm-hmm. And it kind of helped create her, make her that honorable person where she was just trying to do the right thing and make the right choice for her, but not ruin lives in the process.
Right. And what I loved writing about Vera's arc is that she starts out as this girl whose mother is dead, her father is ill, her daily life is spent just trying to get by. Having any aspiration beyond just getting by is just not part of her view at all. She doesn't even know that exists for her. And so meeting somebody like Pearl, who has all these advantages, but is giving up her advantages for the purpose of serving women and serving immigrants, it helps Vera realize I can be more than this. And she's really interested in being more than that, but she's taking baby steps, whereas Pearl's taking these giant leaps. And so I think I probably most identify with Vera in this. I'm really pretty, I'm a hard worker. I'm pretty traditional about a lot of things. And yet that's what I loved about writing Pearl, was somebody who stretched me when as I was writing her.
Well, we really appreciate you coming to join us. We're at the point now we're going to switch over to our conversation about our book of the month, Daughters of the Night Sky, which you pointed out. I can't believe I didn't even catch this when I was examining my book, because we all do that. The second you get a new book, the first thing you do is pour over the cover, but you're on the back right there. There you are.
Yeah, so that's my first cover blurb, and as I was telling you earlier, I was one of those, I feel like a real author now. Wasn't writing the book apparently that made me feel like a real author. Blurb that made me feel like a real author.
And this is the first time where I think we've actually had an author on the show who has actually blurbed about our book of the month while we have the book of the month, while it's all together like that, where it's connected like that.
That's great.
We're starting to know the blurb authors and the book authors. It's very exciting.
Oh my gosh, I hope my ego doesn't get too big now.
Well, thank you so much.
Book, you can actually possibly win a copy at the end of the month. We have a rafflecopter giveaway going on right now. We have it on our Facebook, and it will be shared on our website again, and we'll share it around on Twitter again. But if you go to our rafflecopter, you have a chance of winning a copy of this book too. And so you can see all the stuff that we were talking about.
I'll share that too.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Camille. It was so much fun chatting with you. And when your next book comes out, you might have to come back for a full hour.
I mean,
I don't have any Italian in this next one, but I will be happy to come back and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, our family now, so I mean, it's not like you really have a choice anymore.
Okay, it's a deal.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
All right, thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
One of these days, we're going to end up creeping out a writer.
I know. Every now and then, I'm like, I hope they know that we mean it with love. We don't mean it like we are secretly stalking you and we know where you live, because that is definitely not the case.
Yeah. So definitely.
On the record.
Yeah, on the record. That's the key. But we're not creepy at all.
No, we're just really interested in books and authors. And this is all just an excuse to one day set up the Wine, Women, and Words World Tour.
Right?
So we have places to stay at every stop, because hotels get pricey.
They do. And we will be great house guests. We come with our own wine. Right?
And I mean, I take up very little space on your couch.
Yeah, whenever you crashed on my couch, it was very little space. And when you got up and left in the morning, it was like you weren't even there.
I know. So, I mean, really, maybe one day. But we just have to, plot across the map based on all the authors.
We can, yeah. I think we start the trip in New Zealand.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then London. And then...
I see we start in New Zealand. We come across to California.
And there's a lot of stops in California we have to make.
Yeah. I mean, we do Southern, we do Northern. Then we hop over, do some Midwest. And then we go to Virginia, obviously. No. And I can leave Maryland. We got some East Coast stops to make. And then we go to London. We end in London, and then we come home.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. We've got to find some... We've got an author coming on in July who lives most of the year in Korea, in South Korea.
Oh, see, now we have our Asia stop.
Yeah. I'm counting her as our Asia stop, even though she'll be in California during the time of the interview.
No, she still counts as our Asia stop.
Yeah, she totally does.
So switching over.
I was going to say, excellent segue to planes and travel.
Right. So
how are you in the book?
You're on chapter 7.
Yeah, I'm about to start chapter 7. So you and I are right in the same spot. So I actually have to start reading the book again.
Yeah.
Because I stopped so you can catch up to me.
I'm still a little, so I'm past where Katya and Vanya had their date, and I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he is the guy that he's the guy in the book, but I just got a little nervous after their first date. Like, all of a sudden they're in love, and maybe I don't like that face you're making.
All in the same place as you are. So I mean, it can't quite be. I mean, I don't know more than you do.
Okay.
But my thought is that when you're in wartime, everything speeds up. When you don't know if you're going to die in a couple days, you're going to speed up everything.
That's true. I guess.
Mm.
I don't want to say that out loud because I don't want to jinx it. But
knock on wood.
But the one thing that did piss me off is all of a sudden at first he's all, I would never stop you from getting your wings, and I totally support you being a pilot, and I will back you 100%. And then all of a sudden it's, well, can't you stay home? Like,
Right?
You read that?
Yeah, right? I mean, I'm sorry, but you meet the girl in flight school. You expect her to drop out of flight school just because you are going to marry her? Nope, 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 nope.
I mean, main character 101, you never will actually, woman 101, you never derail your plans for a guy.
Yep, and guys, you do not force the girl to derail her plans for you. So one of the successful things about a partnership is a marriage is that it is a partnership. You got to be a partnership, and sometimes you got to be the person standing in the back, just hitting the tambourine, supporting your partner while they're going out and doing their thing, and then they'll turn around and they can support you when it's their time too.
Hey, I hit a mean tambourine sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be very rhythmic, but it's there.
I was gonna say I have no rhythm, so it's going to be offbeat.
It's really all about enthusiasm.
Right, it's a thought that counts. It's like a good gift. It's a thought that counts.
In some cases, sometimes it's the gift, but in the case of the tambourine, it's the thought.
It's totally the thought.
But one
we are saying a new saying of mine now. It's totally the thought.
Absolutely, especially when things don't go the way you plan. That's like the fallback.
Mm-hmm. That was totally the thought that counts.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
One character that is really intriguing me, and I hope she doesn't die, is her best friend, Tasia. I'm probably not pronouncing her name right, but I'm going to call her Tasia. But I can't believe, and I know to a certain degree, I'm sure women still deal with this in the military and everywhere else. But they have to work so much harder, and they have to make sure that they stay in line and never make a single mistake. And even if they don't make a mistake, they get mistakes created for them. And I want to reach into the book and smack her flight instructor.
Well, it's very much of a case of the more things change, the more they stay the same. Because you see this every single freaking day, whether it's the high-powered CEOs or, whoever else. If a woman wants to succeed in the business world, she has to do it, that much more than a man does, and she has to put that much more effort into it, and she has to smile all the time while she's doing it. Apparently, we're not allowed to frown.
I frown a whole lot sometimes. I mean, I smile, but I frown too.
Yeah. But I think that, it's like what Ginger Rogers says. I can do everything that Fred can do, but I do it backwards and in heels. It's the name of the game. It's the way it's always been.
Well, stupid.
Oh, I agree with you. It's stupid, and it should even. And I think it's going to be changing eventually. And it's slowly, maybe, hopefully changing, but it's still very much the case.
Well, and have we talked about fantasy casting?
Yes, we have, but we have not really. I don't know. Have you found people for our younger characters?
The only person that I keep thinking of for Vanya, and I really don't know why, is the actor who played, what is his name? From Harry Potter, the
redhead, Jeanette.
Victor Crumb.
Yes, Victor Crumb would be fantastic in that. I could totally see that.
That's who I keep picturing for Vanya. But I don't know. I'm gonna look up his name real quick.
Yeah, I see. I'm not big into the whole YA teen show, so anybody who's watching and listening, if you have some ideas for these characters, that would be awesome. We'll have to ask Aimie who her her fantasy cast is. Because, fantasy casting is totally a thing. I have a fantasy cast for my book. And it's one of those things, because as an author, you're supposed to be able to picture the character so that you can relate them to the audience. You got to have those physical characteristics. And frankly, sometimes you need to have an actor with those physical characteristics. And I know there's been a few times for a few of the actors that are in my book that I pictured where I'm like watching every single one of their movies. And my husband's like going through the the history on like our Netflix, and he's like, okay, so which of these actors were you thinking about for the book? Because apparently we're going through a phase for this actor or actress.
Well, yeah. So his name is Hold on, my screen just blanked out. Stanislav Yanevsky.
Ah, so I mean, he's already Russian. I don't think.
And he's really handsome.
I
mean, when you take I mean, the 16-year-old me was all on board with Victor Crumb, but even beyond Victor Crumb, I think he would look good in a flight uniform.
Right? Hermione was, she had her game going on when she was going after Victor.
Well, every now and then a girl's got to put down the book. I don't say that lightly, but
you totally do, because I mean, how can you write a book if you don't know people, and you got to actually be able to know and understand people to be able to write a decent book. You got to write what you know.
Oh, totally off topic. So we're just talking about actors that we're on kicks about. I watched Thor. I really want to say Fraggle Rock.
You and the rest of the free world, I think. I watch Ragnarok.
I watched Thor Ragnarok, and every time they said Ragnarok, I heard Fraggle Rock.
Put your case away.
Right?
For another day.
So I just watched that for the first time, and I know it's been out forever, but my husband and I we watched that one, and then we watched Civil War, and then we watched Doctor Strange, and we were like catching up on all.
Doctor Strange. Love Doctor Strange so much.
I've never heard Benedict Cumberbatch without his English accent, and he's kind of like House. Like House just sounds hotter with the American accent. Usually the other way around.
He got scruffy for Doctor Strange, and I love that. I love a good scruff. I love myself some scruffy nerf herder.
So we're watching it, and I'm like doing my homework while I'm watching it, so I'm only kind of half paying attention. And all of a sudden, I look up, and Thor has short hair, like gone. And I text Diana, and I was like, "Finally, this is a Thor I can get behind." And apparently, a lot of fangirls did not approve of that.
Mm-hmm. They prefer long-haired Thor.
No thanks. Long-haired Loki, yes.
Yeah, you see, I mean, for me, Hemsworth doesn't do much for me. I don't find an actor handsome or attractive until he's played a villain. Michelle and I have discussed this, and I know I have a problem. There is an actual mental problem for me. I think I might have to go to a therapist and figure out what the root cause of this is. But yeah, unless he played a villain, Chris Hemsworth has not played a villain.
I created this whole theory about. I'm probably not the first person to come up with this, but I was out walking River the other day, and I was like, why do girls like the bad guys? Why do we always go for the rebels, like in books and movies and real life? And then all of a sudden, because I was listening to Hamilton while I was walking River, I was like, oh my gosh, the rebels were the popular ones in the colonies. So of course we liked the rebels back then, and it's just evolved over time.
Yeah, and I think there's something there's that swagger, and it's for me, it's not really the rebel bad boy per se.
Definitely that for me.
For me, it's the swagger. It's the Harrison Ford effect. It's Han Solo, Indiana Jones. That even Loki's got swag. He's got style. There's this charisma, and I've got this soft spot for. It's a rogue. I have a soft spot for roguish men who are like. I don't want to say sleazy, but they're like, hey, and they're underhanded, and you look at them, and you're like, okay, yeah, they're totally a nice guy. The moment you turn your back on them, they're up to no good, and that's what I enjoy.
And you were like, yes, you I like.
Yes, my husband, I feel is very much that way. He's you look at him, and you're like, oh, he's a nice guy. such a nice guy. I wouldn't expect him to like be involved in like smuggling stuff or willing to smuggle things. Though, Fed, if you're listening, he doesn't actually smuggle anything. I'm just saying, he would have if given the opportunity, he might, but he doesn't. So don't investigate us, okay? But yeah, he's got that. I don't know. I like that roguish, that sarcasm, quick wit, common sense. That is very important in a man to me.
So you must be loving Vanya right now, because he's definitely like a stick it to authority when they are being wrong.
Oh yeah. I like him, but I mean, I did get a little pissed off about the whole, oh, you're gonna quit for me.
Yeah, that
over that.
Okay. Yes. We'll give him a pass, because it must be really they spend all these years training to fly, and they know that war is happening and war can happen, but it's one thing, I would imagine, to know it's a possibility and to all of a sudden in one afternoon switch to it's probably going to happen. So he's probably just a little freaked out, because he's still, how old are they in this? Like,
teens. They have to be late
18, 19.
Yeah.
Because she was like 10 years old when she first saw the pilot, right? At the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then
she got through secondary
like 10 years later. So yeah, 20 years old, and then realizing that you might be going to war and you could get shot down, and the person you love could get shot down. So we'll give him a pass for that.
For now. Yeah, we'll give him a pass. And also consider the time period. This is historical fiction after all. So given that time period, he's used to a point in time where, women stayed home. They got married. If they had a job of whatever, they had to quit the job and stay home and take care of the family.
Although I can't say that I wouldn't be like, oh, I have a choice, then maybe I'll stay. Maybe.
Oh, not gonna work. It depends. For me, I don't know if I would. If I had the choice, if I had signed up for something like that. I mean, you got to consider the fact that for Katja, this is her passion. This is what she has dreamed of her whole life. War or no war, she's not going to be like, yeah, I'll give up my wings for you. Yeah, sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe just be like a commercial. I mean, I'm not a danger adrenaline junkie, so I wouldn't even find myself in that situation, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't even think you'd end up in flight school.
No. I would hang out at the bar where all the pilots went to talk to them and hear their stories, and nothing else, because I am a fine, upstanding young lady. And I realized what I was implying as the words were coming out of my mouth.
I reserve my biggest laugh for that. You being a fine, upstanding young lady.
I am. I just realized how I was making myself sound as the words were coming out of my mouth. So I had to regroup.
Do not laugh or fool you. She is not a fine, upstanding young lady.
I am too. My kids could listen to this or watch this years from now. So let's make mom sound good.
Yeah, kids, if you guys want some stories, just come to Auntie Diana. I'm more than happy to tell you the stories.
They're very fun.
Auntie Diana will all the sort of details.
Well, so how many chapters is this book? Let's see. By the way, I'm really excited to ask Aimie about the picture on the back sleeve, because it looks really interesting, and I want to know where that was.
Yeah, I think she went to some. I remember when she posted that on Facebook. I think she was at some museum, and then almost pulled it up again, because I don't have a hard copy of it. I only have the ebook. See something so I can see the big screen.
Oh, sorry. This is the back of the cover.
I almost want to say that is in the Palm Springs Air Museum, but it could be another air museum. Because Palm Springs Air Museum has a plane similar to that. The Palm Springs Air Museum is really freaking cool. We were there last year. My husband is really big into airplanes, and because when he was in the military, he got to actually work with the planes. He was Army, but not Air Force, which, by the way, it happens to be the Army's birthday today. So happy birthday to those of you who are in the Army.
Yay.
So it was really sad.
I know.
I should have done it. Hooah! There we go. All right. You could tell I was Army wife.
What does the Navy say? I should know that.
I didn't know that. Shame on you for not knowing that. That's going to need to work, and you're going to need to say it next week.
I think it's like the same thing, but just like the emphasis is on something else. I'll find out.
Yeah, the emphasis is different for everything else because it's, I know Army is hooah, and then Marine is hoorah, and I don't know what Air Force and Navy is. I think we'll have to figure this out for next week.
Okay. Don't tell my husband that I forgot. I know it, but I just can't forget. I
was coached on it because Ryan was like, okay, you are not going to embarrass me in front of my soldiers, because he was a captain, so he had a command. Not embarrass me in front of my soldiers.
One day, it'll never happen, but one day I wish Rich could take me on base and just let me watch him train recruits. So I could like walk behind him and go, he's not really this mean. I'm so sorry. You're doing great.
No, you don't get to do that because you totally undermine him. See, for me though, if I was watching the troops of my husband, my husband doing this stuff, I'd sit back and be like, and I'd be busting out laughing or trying not to laugh and be like, yeah, he's totally serious. Yeah.
That's totally right.
I used to love it because I'm thinking that for the longest time, my husband didn't tell me all of the stories. He told me some stories, but like there were a couple times where there were some volunteer events happening with his soldiers, and I would tag along, and there were his soldiers would tell the stories where my husband was the badass. And like there was a really great one where this one soldier would come in from another unit, and she would just give the other soldiers just hell, and she was really nasty because they were in charge of they were the ground crew basically for the flights, and so she would ask when the flights were up, why isn't this flight number up on the board, don't you know who I am, that sort of thing. And she was a lieutenant of some sort, and she'd like stick her rank out in front of his soldiers, and they complained about this woman is annoying as hell. And one day Ryan was in there and he hadn't changed out of his gym clothes. And, soldiers, they have their PT clothes. And she's like, where are the flight numbers? What are the flight numbers on there? It's like, those are the current flight numbers on there. And he's on his computer trying to work. And why isn't this one on there? Don't you know who I am? And Michelle knows my husband. And my husband, he's the kind of guy who doesn't really talk unless he actually has something to say. And he's the kind of guy who, when he gets mad, he doesn't yell. He can have that quiet kind of anger. I know this because I pushed him to that point. And I pushed him to the point of yelling. So he just looks up at her and she's just going off on him on rank. And finally he's just like, I would suggest for future reference, before you try to pull rank, the rank of the other person. And she just kind of gets really quiet. He's like, and he tells her exactly who he is. And he's like, and I'm the captain. And if I so much as see you step foot in this room again in front of these numbers, there will be hell to pay, and I will be having a word with your commander. And he never told me this story. And afterwards, he scared her so much that her sergeants came in and apologized for her. And she did not step foot in his terminal ever again until she went home. And yeah, he didn't tell me this. This was something his soldier sold. I was like, yeah, it's her husband. My husband's a tough guy. And they're talking about this. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so funny. So great.
I hear some stories. I don't hear, I mean, I'm sure I don't hear all of them. But just some of the story, like I would never survive boot camp. Like, I mean, we all know this. But like if I had Rich as an RDC, which is Recruit Division Commander, not drill sergeant, different branch. He would make me cry on day one
Mm-hmm.
And they have, well, it's just he would break me in like a minute. I would be crying like the second I got on the bus, and then it would be game over.
Oh, I was
I
probably
never joined the military.
Yeah, no, I couldn't do it. It's a funny thing where Ryan was like, I threw my back out one night and I'm like bawling because I was in so much pain. And he's like, honey, you're tough. You can handle this. No, I'm not. You're the tough one in this relationship. You were the one who was in the military. I wasn't.
As long as everyone is clear.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I was like, this is the way our relationship works. You're the physically tough one. I'm not. I'm the wuss.
See, in our relationship, I am the book smart one.
Mm-hmm.
Rich is the street smart one. When the apocalypse happens, I will be very little use to him, but it is his responsibility to make sure I survive.
Yeah.
And he knows this.
I got enough training where I think I could survive on the land. I don't think I would be good killing any zombies, but I could survive on the land and go off grid really easily, really fast.
Oh, I definitely could not. Like, I am going to rely on the prowess of the people around me, which is why I'm friends with you.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, too bad you're in another state. What you need to do, though, is you need to put all your camping gear. Get camping gear. That's key. Get camping gear. Put it all in a bin so that you can just grab the camping gear and go.
Yeah, see, that's, I don't know. Do I even have camping gear? I don't know. I don't know where it is, if we do.
Your kids are getting older. You're going to be taking them camping. You've got to make sure Lily understands why she doesn't like camping like her mother. Because I don't really see Lily liking camping.
Oh my gosh, she would be all about it.
Okay.
She found a worm in the backyard that was like this long, and River and I, the dog, and I were like, oh my God, ew. And she's like, can I touch it? Like, oh, no, you can't.
Yeah, honey, get a stick and poke it. You'll be fine. It'll be fun.
Landon, on the other hand, is like, I don't know if there's like some minor OCD starting to develop there, because he gets like a crumb on his hands and he goes, my hands. It's super cute. And it's like, oh my gosh, one of you is like me.
Your father's genes have not totally taken over the whole thing.
No. But anyway, we've gone rogue.
Yes, we have a tendency to do that, but that's okay, because sometimes you gotta go rogue. But you guys, we have awesome giveaways going on. You gotta be sure to check out our giveaways. I will have a link to the giveaway in the show notes, and we'll be sure to be sharing that again for the Rafflecopter giveaway. However, in the meantime, you gotta go to our Instagram page. On June 11th, we posted a giveaway post where you have to follow us, follow Panama Joe's Coffee, which the coffee smells. Yeah, that's a post for those of you who are watching. The coffee smells amazing. I almost don't want to give it up. I mean, there was a serious temptation of going, well, you don't need another present for people. That and that mug, for those of you who are only listening, the mug itself says, "This coffee is making me awesome."
Which that in itself is.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that coffee, it's whole bean coffee, so you got to have a coffee grinder. Which, I mean, if you're a coffee addict like us, you're going to have a coffee grinder, and this could be a good excuse to get a coffee grinder. If you're going to
go old school every now and then.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to the art of grinding your own coffee and actually make it. I actually know a guy who roasted his own coffee.
That's too much.
Roast it.
Well, I'm running out of room in my cabinet for new mugs, but I have an obsession with coffee mugs.
I know, I'm wanting to start getting more mugs myself. My stepmom plays bunco, and so sometimes she gets coffee mugs, and she's like, here, I'll just give them to you from now on, because I don't need this many mugs. And I'm
okay.
Like, yay. And my husband's like, yay, no.
Okay. Well, anyway, guys, we're going to go because we're veering.
Yes, we're in the veering territory. So go check out our giveaways. Go to our Instagram page and go to Rafflecopter and check out those giveaways and go to www.trywink.com/www podcast. Get yourself some wine. Get some really great wine from Wink, because, I mean, really, it is great wine. You don't have to pay membership fees for this club. It's great. Cancel at any time. You can pause your months if you need to. But you don't really need to pause the months. I found.
I know it's like you don't want to miss a box.
No, I get excited when it's box time, and I get to pick out the next box. And I mean, for me, I go through about maybe a bottle a week, which isn't too bad, especially when I'm the only one drinking the wine.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you have your month supply. You don't have to worry about going out and getting wine, and you don't have to worry about getting wine that you won't like. You don't have to take a risk on it, because there's nothing worse than opening up a bottle of wine and finding you just don't like it.
True story.
So again, that's trywink.com/www podcast. Go there. Use that link specifically so you get $22 off your first order.
Yay! And we will see everyone next week.
Yes, and next week we're going to have Sarah Miller, author of Caroline, on the show. And she's Little House Revisited. Have you started that one yet?
I have not. I'm going to probably tomorrow.
Oh, you're going to like it. It's such an easy read. And it's a nice, smooth read. It's the best way to describe it. It's a smooth read.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
Very good. All right, guys. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.